So, I want to give another perspective. So, this is the English version of the Haaretz. It came with the New York Times. Policeman says he shot and killed his wife in their West Bank home. So, this is we have another version now. So, a police officer was arrested Friday after he called his commander to say he had shot and killed his wife at their home in the West Bank settlement of Naale, police said. The Justice Ministry unit that investigates alleged police misconduct has opened an investigation into Amir Raz, 33, suspected of killing his wife Diana Raz, 35. She was a relationship counselor and ran a business named Love Academy. According to a preliminary investigation, the couple's 4 children were at home during the shooting, and Raz subsequently called his commander to say he had murdered his wife, police said. He then allegedly called his mother and asked her to pick up the children. Raz said he shot twice and one bullet hit the wife in the head. He told investigators, "I have no explanation for what happened. I don't know why I did it." He said the children saw everything. This followed an argument after his wife accused him of looking at another woman, he said. Raz is a patrol officer in Modi'in. Acquaintances of the family said the couple was married for 10 years, frequently fought. This we don't, nobody says that. Tense relationship. Naale's spokeswoman said they had no welfare history. The suspect's father, who arrived at the couple's home after the police, told the Haaretz they had problems like any couple. He loved her till the end of the earth. I have no idea what happened here. A neighbor said he heard 4 gunshots. Everyone knows everyone else. This is a secular settlement, and everyone goes to school together, she said. We knew they had problems. There were always fights between them, but we didn't think it would reach this situation. A different neighbor said the couple's relationship was tense, unlike the ideal you see on Facebook. So, look, I looked into her videos on YouTube and Love Academy, and she caters to a very specific population of women, I would say probably not educated, because an educated woman would actually wonder, where's this knowledge coming from? You do a 3-month course, or I read that NLP, it's from 3 months to 2-year training, and anyone can do it. There's no, anyone can, anyone who pay, the entrance for these courses is a credit card. So she did this course, and she thought she was qualified to give advice to women about relationships, and her own home was, meanwhile, not a very happy home. And I'm not blaming her, but I'm just saying we have to be aware of this, because this is something that we should know as women, that we are being fed this narrative that we have to have a relationship in order to be happy, and this is the result. And someone said to me, "You're going to be the next victim." Somebody wrote me, an Israeli man. How dare you blame the victim? I'm not blaming the victim. I'm looking at the wider picture, that the reason women get murdered is because they think that relationships with men are the only source of happiness they will find in life. Being a mother and a wife is the ultimate happiness. And I do believe that she believed this narrative. Otherwise, I don't think she could have run this business. She was in denial, obviously. She had such an unhappy home, and yet she pushed women into relationships. Or maybe if she had been able to live, if she had lived long enough, she would have given courses to women how to get out of relationships. And really, like she had one video where she said, what are the warning signs? But yet she didn't really specify, and she really didn't go into depth, because she didn't have the ability to go into depth, since she didn't really study anything in depth. Now about him, I want to compare what happened there to a Palestinian man who shot a woman, 52-year-old woman from another settlement, who was a mother of 6. His house was demolished. According to the Israeli military law, when a Palestinian, not a man, a Palestinian terrorist murders an Israeli Jewish person, their house is demolished. Now that man had a home where in his home lived a wife and small children and elderly parents. Those people were told, get out of the house, We're destroying it as punishment. It's called collective punishment. Now, would anyone even consider destroying the home of Amir Raz? Would anybody consider it? No, because his parents are not responsible for him murdering his wife, right? Maybe they are responsible for raising this entitled piece of shit who thinks he could just shoot a woman. But think about it. This is a police officer, and this is the second one in recent times that shot his wife. So if he shot his wife, the mother of his children, in front of her children, you can think of what cruelty this man possessed and how cruel he was towards other people, especially minorities and other figures that he could just shoot without giving accountability. So I think it's important as an Israeli society that we really become more accountable for the violence in our society and realize that when I'm not saying the police is violent, because I think the police are an important force. I do think, though, they have to really take a good hard look at who they recruit. Just like in the US, who do you recruit if a man shoots his wife? Who do you recruit if you shoot around people? And recently we just had a nursing student, an Arab nursing student, shot by the police by mistake. Still under investigation. During they were trying to capture a criminal, and then they shot somebody by mistake, and they shot a doctor, an Arab doctor, by mistake. So let's look in police violence. This is first of all. Second of all, I mean, at the same importance, let's look at violence against women. Not blaming them, but taking responsibility. When you make the man a king, when you say to women, men are everything. Now, this is secular. So you can understand if she was religious, because religious, according to Judaism, man is really important. And, in Judaism, the man is the only one who's counted for prayer. We have 10 men. We need 10 men in order to make a prayer circle. Women are not counted for prayer. This says everything about how Judaism, traditional, I'm saying, views women. So when a secular woman doesn't believe in doesn't practice religion, and yet she takes this narrative of Orthodox Judaism and she applies it to her life. I mean, when a woman can be anything, and she chooses to be focused on relationships, and she markets it to other women, she markets this toxin narrative to other women, telling them, oh, I'm going to teach you how to get a man. But once you get that man, it's like, let's say, instead of a man, I say a dog. I'm going to teach you how to get a dog. Once you get the dog, you have to live with him. And I'm not saying anything derogatory about dogs. I love dogs. I'm just saying, I'm not comparing men to dogs. I'm saying, just instead of the sentence, how to get a man, get a dog or a cat. So once you have the cat or a dog, you have to live with them. So the goal shouldn't be about getting a man. The goal should be about how to live a happy life, the bigger picture. And I think we should teach women that being a wife and a mother is not their only narrative. But I think the problem is, especially in Israel, that we're fed with our mother's milk, this narrative, you have to be a wife and children. I know I did. I know I was fed this narrative. My mother was stressed out that I was over 30 and not married. And I did get married. And but fortunately, I was able to leave that relationship. And mostly because I'm an educated woman who got a real education and didn't do a course. And I often ask myself how an educated woman can be in such a shitty relationship where I'm not respected and when my needs are not met, and I was just like an object. And the reason is that there's a difference between emotional and rational. But if you're educated, you're able to think about options, because once you have a good education, a good academic background, you actually think, you actually take the time to reflect and analyze, and you also have access to information. Where a woman who does an LLP course, 3-month course, she treats this course as if it is a university course. She says, this is the syllabus. I've listened to her. We have a syllabus. What syllabus are you talking about? What psychological research are you talking about? I just happen to have a degree in psychology, and the more I learned, the more I realized I don't know anything. And I definitely never felt qualified to preach to women to live a certain lifestyle. And I think it's the same as a diet. I was very angry when I went to a yoga center and there was somebody talking about the ideal diet. There is no ideal diet. There is no ideal relationship. There is no ideal life. There is a life that's suitable for you. There is a diet that's suitable for you. We are our bodies are very different. Our minds are very different. Women and men are not these groups like all men, like how to get a man, how to get a woman. No, we're individuals. And this is one thing, I don't blame her, but this is one lesson that we need to learn from this tragedy is that we have a choice to not go in the same path as women did in the past. We don't have to be stuck with somebody who doesn't appreciate us. And we have to be aware that there is a mechanism of denial. Once you enter a marriage and you have children, it's very hard to leave. It's very difficult to leave. It's like a cage. And it's no wonder that she seems such an intelligent woman despite the lack of education. And yet she wasn't able to put the pieces of the puzzle together and reach the conclusion that she was in danger. And I don't think it's, I can imagine that there was so much against that conclusion. And on top of which, this violent society where it's okay for a man to carry a gun and shoot people around and there's no accountability. So I think this is a wake-up call, not only for women, but for Israel, that we should really ask for accountability. And do we really want to be a violent society? Because at the end, we are hurting ourselves. And this is absolutely the proof of the pudding. Once we embrace violence, there will be victims, but there will be innocent bystanders, there will be shot. And this is one victim. And ask yourself, do we really want to continue this path? Ask yourselves, if you're Israelis, do we really want to continue this, to vote for a government that has Orthodox people telling us, dictating to us primitive laws? And do we really want to live in a society where women are objectified and seen as that so many women want to went into her courses because they want to achieve this ideal of being a wife and a mother. Is this really a narrative that Israeli society should be pushing to girls and young women? Or should girls and young women should ask, hey, I am not under, like a secular girl who's born into this world can be anything. She can be anything. She can be the next Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris married at 50, over 50. She doesn't have children. I think she's in a good relationship because she achieved her goals in life. So why can't we look at Kamala Harris as an example of the kind of woman we want to be? You can have a man, but first take care of yourself before you take care of other people. And if you want to be a good mother, first take care of yourself so your children can have a role model of a person who can take care of themselves and not have to watch you get murdered. She's not to blame. Blame is not the right word. I'm trying to analyze this and to understand, and I think it's part of the reason why this took place is the violent atmosphere in which they lived. In these settlements, it's very attractive for young couples to go there. It's very cheap land. They can build a big house and raise a big family, and it's much, much less expensive than to live in the center of Israel like I live. So, here we live in like really small apartments, tiny apartments. They have big houses, and it's very attractive for them to live there. But it is a settlement in the West Bank. It is disputed land. And also, this man is a police officer. If he shoots his own wife, God knows how many people he could have shot in his work. And maybe what happened should be a red light for everyone. And whatever your political opinions are, whether you think that this is Israeli land and we can do whatever we want, but ask yourself, how can you live in a country where one man kills a murderer, his house is destroyed, and his children and his parents pay the price, and another man he's claiming, shoots his wife And then I'm not sure if he is gonna face prison time because he's claiming insanity. And yet he called the police, reported the case. He called his mother to take the kids. How could he be insane? An insane person has a problem with reality. He's disconnected from reality. He called his mother to pick up the kids. And now he's getting evaluated. His lawyer says, "Oh, he's a very difficult state of mind." Yes, well, and now we learn he also attacked her with a knife and shot her. So, what are they going to claim? What are they going to claim? That he was post-traumatic? He worked in Modi'in. He didn't work with Arab population. He worked in a Jewish city. So, and he didn't have, his position as a policeman wasn't like dealing with drugs or something dangerous. So, what excuse is there for shooting your wife? What excuse is there? None. And for women, we really need to learn that we have options in life and we do not have to be in a relationship. We do not have to go out there and get a man because our worth doesn't depend on somebody evaluating us like a diamond. What is our worth? Your self-worth depends on yourself. And don't go to courses that in one lesson they work on your self-image. Self-image is something that's very deep. I mean, even my developmental psychology course lasted longer than this woman's training, and it's one course. And I still am not qualified. Nobody would say to me, "Hey, go treat patients." To be a clinical psychologist is a long process and it's supervised. These courses are not supervised. So we have 3 alarm bells as a result of this tragedy. 1, we're a violent society. We need to work on ourselves, and we have laws that need to be changed. We cannot demolish somebody's house because of his crime and punish his whole entire family. 2, we need to learn that these courses, NLP or whatever bullshit courses, are dangerous because a little knowledge is very dangerous. 3, as women, we have options. And if we're not happy, we don't have to stay in a marriage where we're not happy, despite the force, the society forcing us to live in this beautiful Hollywood dream. If it doesn't suit you, pick up and go. Even with 6 kids, 7 kids, no matter how many kids you have, if you feel unsafe, if you're fighting, you shouldn't be fighting with a partner. You should be getting along. And if you're not getting along, you should go to a couples therapy that's trained and is a clinical psychologist or a clinical social worker, somebody who has training, who has supervised training. And this is so dangerous. I cannot stress it enough. And if somebody says, "Oh, yeah, this is not the time to talk," this is the time to talk about it. This newspaper at the end goes to the trash. And the news of today is forgotten. And let's not forget this woman. And let's not forget to learn lessons from her case. And let's hope that this brings about a change in some people who are watching this video, some people who also have reached this conclusion by themselves. And this is not only for women, men too need to be with women that don't treat them like a god and don't treat them like the ultimate happiness, source of happiness, but treat them like an equal and see them at an eye level and see them as equal to them and not expect them to be some god or something. This sense of entitlement given to men in Israeli society is also hurting them a lot, because once they have a sense of entitlement, then they really lose respect for women. And yes, partly women who treat a man as if he's a god figure, it's a problem. But the men also, it's not every man that would actually treat a woman like this. So we have to remember that men and women are comprised of individuals, and we cannot talk about men's brain, women's brain, that we are individuals as well. And there's social pressures around us to behave in a certain way, and we have to be aware of it and to talk about it and to speak about it, and especially to honor her, to honor this woman's death, that she did not die in vain. She wasn't murdered in vain, but we can learn from this experience. Just like medical students learn from the dead bodies of people, let's learn from her murder, not to say, oh, this is horrible, men are monsters, but to analyze why women are murdered. What are the social factors that influence men and women to behave the way they do? What makes women stay in abusive relationships, and what makes men become abusive? These are the questions we have to ask, and especially, what is the atmosphere that facilitates it? I know that in US there are many more domestic violence cases. It's also more people. We're only 9 million. There it's 300 million. But in America, I think there's a statistics are for domestic violence are quite horrific, and they do not have wars, but they have other issues. But I blame Hollywood movies for. I blame. Go on Netflix and see all the movies that promote a Hollywood scenario where, to reach this goal of getting a man is the ultimate happiness, and this has been going on for years. So it's not about blaming, but it's about understanding why this happens in order not to be led like sheep to slaughter. All these courses, Love Academy, lead women to seek happiness in according to a narrative that doesn't that is just fictional. And in reality, life is much more complex. In reality, men and women are complex human beings affected by certain social narratives, but we really have to fight this movement. She's not the only one, especially in the religious sector. Women are being fed this narrative: you are nothing without a man. I once heard in a lesson, I used to go to religion lessons, and this was it a rabbi's wife or a rabbi said, oh no, it was a rabbi from Lubavitcher who said that a woman or a man are only half. They're only half a soul, and only in a couple they are whole. Well, we sometimes see that in a this as Sartre said, hell is the other person. Sometimes a relationship can be your hell, not your paradise. Adam and Eve also, I'm not sure they really got along if we analyze that story. I'm not talking against Lubavitcher specifically, but I'm just saying the religious community, they definitely feed the narrative. But why are we a secular people that have, we're supposed to be liberal, we're supposed to be independent thinkers, and yet we're not independent thinkers because there's something very wrong in our school system that doesn't teach us critical thinking. And there's something very wrong in Israeli society which doesn't promote critical thinking. That if we say something, if we express an opinion that maybe women shouldn't be taught that finding a man is the ultimate happiness, we are attacked that this is not the right time, this is the right time, this is honoring her. Because I'm sure that in time, she seemed very intelligent, very, very intelligent, capable woman. The way she spoke, the way she was able to phrase, I mean, a woman who had no formal academic education, and she could market her courses, she could talk to thousands of women, she had a voice, and I think in time, if she had been allowed to live, she would have been, I am positive, she would have changed her narrative, and she would have encouraged women to live on their own. She would have offered courses to women, encouraged them to live alone, encouraging them to find out, first of all, what they want, what are their goals, what are their needs before they are in a committed relationship, which might end up causing them a lot of damage. I'm almost positive she would have been a leader for women's liberation movement to not live in these prisons called marriages. Marriage is a failed institution. I don't know why gay people want to be in it. 50% of marriages end up in divorce, and divorce is a very painful experience for children, for the people involved, and very necessary though, because 50% of the time men and women cannot live together. Think about it. So why would we encourage women to seek such a failed institution? No answer for that. We are being led like sheep to slaughter women. So it's time to work on not helping women once they're in the cage, but before they get into the cage. We have to start with little girls, telling them you can be whatever you want to, and giving them role models like Kamala Harris, who postponed marriage to a very late age, giving them uh, role models of women that have their own careers and a supportive husband, like Michelle Obama, and giving them role models of marriages where a man and woman are indeed have equal rights and are not dominated. And one thing I saw in Michelle Obama's film Becoming, she said that she and her husband went to marriage counseling, but she didn't go to somebody who studied 3 months. She went to real trained marriage counselor. And this is something that we should all think about. Whether, who do we go to when we need help? Do we go to somebody who did a 3 months course, or do we go to somebody who's trained, who has supervised training? I'm not saying, I don't think psychologists are necessary, the ones to give you the answers, but you have to know that everybody has a narrative and everybody has a certain ideology. And when you go to consult with someone, you actually are receiving this ideology. Nobody's a tabula rasa. Everybody has a certain ideology they're giving you. But psychologists, at least, are supposed to go through a process where they're becoming aware of what they're telling their clients, and how to help people figure out what they really want and not repeat the narrative that's being fed to them by the counselor. A counselor is supposed to be a person that helps you figure out what you want individually and not fit into some sort of a narrative. And this is something I think also we need in Israel to do, is work on having an education system where critical thinkers, especially in the Middle East, and especially since we're under the threat of war constantly, we need to be critical thinkers, especially because there's so much violence around us. It doesn't mean that because there's violence around us, we have to accept it as a way of life. And we have to say, okay, we're just going to live in this violent society because we are being attacked. Maybe it's time to stop and say, hey, we want to change. We want to live in peace and love and light, but not without those three factors. Love Academy didn't bring women love. Love, peace, and light have to come together. If there's no peace, there's no light. If there's no light, there's no peace. If there's no love, there's no peace and light. So peace, light, and love to everyone. And I think I'm respecting her memory. She was just buried yesterday, this young woman. I'm respecting her memory by hoping that somehow people that hear this message can pass it on to other people, and we could spread this information that we don't have to be victims. Not men and not women. Women and men are both victims of this narrative of marriage and children and lifelong happiness. It's work, and it's a personal work, and it's something that is very different. And as Tolstoy said, all happy families are alike, and every unhappy family is unhappy in their own way. And perhaps happy families is just fiction. And perhaps we all have to work out our unhappiness in order to become better human beings. And perhaps the goal is not happiness, but the goal is to live out whatever you're brought into this world to do. To live out, to fulfill ourselves, and to achieve the goals we want to achieve, irrespective of other people. Where to be your own person. And in other quotes, be yourself, everyone else is taken. Peace, light, and love.